Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas Psychology Partners.
We're not going to dry shampoo our way out of this. This one's going to require a full wash.
That reminds me of our previous episode, Dan.
Yeah.
When we are able to use beauty terms just like men use sports in the boardroom, right? In this case, our previous episode talks about this individual who's toxic for the team, and we just need to wash him right out of our hair, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to just get by a dry shampoo and a little, thickening spray here.
And I recently happened upon someone on we'll call it short form social media, who's just like during the whole bit on using beauty metaphors in general instead of sports analogies, because we use so many sports analogies in the business world that I think it's kind of amusing to like do this, in part because when I watch the videos, I only understand about half of them, and I have to show them to my wife, who then explains it to me.
Not amusing, inclusive. The men on this podcast earlier were talking about sports, and I was just about asleep. You start using makeup in the boardroom, and now we get inclusivity because we get to talk as as another group of people who use these products. Now, inclusive of people who identify and wear makeup, not probably as those of you, my
no,
who use very little hair product and makeup.
To be clear, I'm not saying, oh, look, isn't this cute? It's more like as a man who's not familiar with this,
yes,
I got a little taste of what it must be like if you're not following sports. Like many, sports are right now tend to be more male watched, not all. But that experience being very different for a man to hear these beauty metaphors and have to ask, literally I had to ask my wife some of them, like, what does exactly this mean? She explained, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I know that she's been in that same spot as and she's even told me, like, hey, I know the Vikings are playing this week. What's going on? I'm going into a meeting with like 4 guys, and I want to know what's going on with the Vikings. And it just,
I sometimes get my water cooler prep talk from my Andrew American in the household. Not that he's a big sports guy, but he will absolutely prep me with something because I don't know.
Yeah. So I like that, and I'm looking. It's nice as we move away from potentially just being aware. I think talking about being aware of the metaphors we use and whether they are inclusive or not. Because
I'm going to give a shout here. We often forget to remind people we have a mailbag. Please send us mail about this. Do you use sports metaphor, beauty metaphor? Do you get your water cooler prep talk so that you are ready for discussion on Monday? Send us some mail, please. All right, we should probably do today's episode. Michael, what do you have for us?
Well, we'll be sure to tag the woman who did these posts, first of all, because they are really fantastic. That flip, it's really well done. And so her name is Ari Kramer, and I'll include a link so you can find her easier. But yeah, for anybody who's like, what the hell is this? Any of those newbies out there, sorry.
Maybe our tried and true listeners are like, what happened? How did this go off the rails today?
But basically, I've gone out on the internet and I found a scenario where somebody has told a story and essentially asked, who's the asshole here? And that's what Dan and Gayle weigh in on. To be a little more discreet, I've de-identified the posts a bit, and I don't know. I like seeing what they come up with. It's kind of fun to throw this at them and see where they go with the conversation. Also, if you're new, stick around through the credits. We always have some kind of bonus conversation, and that's often unpredictable and can go in a number of ways. But
maybe off the rails again.
I really don't tell Dan or Gayle ahead of time what I'm going to throw at them. That's definitely part of my joy. So today's prompt is, am I the asshole for telling my CEO to go fuck himself after he called me a liar?
Probably.
No. Well, I think it's a poor business decision in the workplace to tell someone to go fuck themselves. That doesn't necessarily make one an asshole. It may have been entirely justified, albeit unwise.
I'm going to disagree, which is going to make this a really fun conversation. I think in the business world, you are careful not to burn bridges. Even if the CEO did something, which by the way, you privately think, go fuck yourself, I'm fine with that.
I
A, you
agree.
don't,
No, no.
A, I think you don't use that language in the business. And B, you don't burn the bridge. You
Well,
can do
but that wasn't
lots
the
of
question.
things.
The
I
question
know, I
was,
know.
am I an asshole?
Yes.
You may have been a dumbass for telling
This is
your
not the dumbass edition. This is the asshole edition.
yeah. I mean, you're a dumb. Yeah. Am I a dumbass for telling my
I do
boss to go
think
fuck
you're an
himself?
asshole if you tell someone go fuck yourself. I think that's
Eh,
asshole behavior.
I think that there are moments. I will stand behind this. There are
Awesome.
moments when it is justifiable to tell someone that to go fuck themselves.
I think that's pretty an extreme response. I'm not going to
Oh,
disagree with you.
you're not wrong. It is an
Okay.
extreme response.
Okay.
It's
So we
absolutely an
now
extreme response.
now
It's
we need to
100%
make
an extreme response.
fact pattern.
It's one
Does
of the
this
most.
rise to the level of appropriate to go fuck yourself? It
It
could,
is.
it might, it is possible.
It is. It is. Probably it is possibly one of the most extreme verbal responses one can give, and in the workplace, entirely inappropriate in almost every situation I can think of. However, that doesn't necessarily make him an asshole. It might make him or her, we don't know yet, a dumbass or in some other way really stupid or foolish or have made a mistake. But I'm not yet really. There are times when such verbal outbursts may be justifiable if ill-informed.
Michael, we need more facts in the pattern here.
Sure. So this was a really long post. I've done my best to distill it, and I'll give extra information as you need it. But
Thank you.
The distilled version is, the poster is female. She says, I'm a woman who's been working at a chaotic, high turnover company for about 8 months. Recently, I booked a DMV appointment 2 hours away at my earliest available slot to renew my vehicle registration. My manager and HR approved the day off weeks in advance, even though I had to skip a scheduled company party for it. So this was an extracurricular activity, but it was kind of mandatory and they were going to be paid to be at it, just as background there. When I tried to inform my CEO that I couldn't come now to that event,
I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to pause. There's more. I just don't want to lose track of this one thing. If your company is a high turnover company, something's wrong.
Right.
And I know that we kind of went past that, but and there's a lot more to come, and I know we're gonna have a lot more to discuss. But I really want to underscore this idea that my is that like the number one indicator of quality of workplace is employee turnover. I remember this one.
Employees typically leave managers.
Right. I mean,
the reason they leave is the management. So
where I did my postdoc, shout out to Shepherd Pratt Hospital, where I did my postdoc in 1996. I looked at their page, and I just like a month ago, I knew most of the people there.
Wow.
At least half of them, 25,
That's
almost 30 years later,
amazing.
I knew a lot of those people. That is a quality place to work, and it felt it when I was there. Wow. And so in a quality workplace, you're going to see that type of longevity. So if you see a lot of turnover, if you're looking back and what's wrong with my employees, they keep leaving me, this is a place to look at your company and decide what is going wrong that you have such high turnover.
Agreed. And I think often people will just attribute it to, oh, people are just using us for a stepping stone. And, that's what this generation does. And they're very dismissive of it. But I still think there's an indication and there's a reason that the generation that we're in don't stay places, because we don't really work on culture and relationships. We now build in this expectation, you're not staying anyway. I don't need to treat you with quality, respect, and kind of those things. So I think this is a self-perpetuating problem that we're in, and it's too easy to offload that onto the employee and forget the ownership as a manager.
And let's bring that. And one of the things we can do in looking at this is bring it back to baseline data. This is one thing that comes up all the time. What's wrong in this situation? Half of our people are leaving, or a quarter of our people are leaving, or whatever it is. I would ask, what's the baseline for your industry? Yeah. If you lost 25% of your people, but the baseline for your industry is 50, you're doing great. If you lost 25% of people and your baseline for industry is 10, you're doing terrible. So that number by itself, this came up recently in scholastic performance in my district, that we were at like 42% were below grade level. People flipped out. But when you look at the across the state data, we're actually near the top because others. So like, this is why we always have to have those comparison points. So I want to have the comparison points to make. But I really just wanted to underscore that idea. And I'm sorry I interrupted you. I'm not actually that sorry I interrupted you.
You're not. This is a really interesting aspect of the discussion. Michael loved it. I can see his face.
I'm not apologetic at all. Michael, please continue the story.
Yeah. So she didn't immediately recognize the conflict between this work party and her appointment. But obviously vehicle registration is vital to her being able to get to her work. When she realized there was a conflict, then she tried to inform her CEO that she couldn't come. And he responded by storming into her office, calling her a liar in front of where everybody else could hear, essentially, and saying that she wanted the extra day off for fun. She says, I stayed calm and offered to show my appointment confirmation. Instead, he followed me back to my desk and screamed at me, accusing me of bullshitting him. That's when I stood up and told him to go fuck himself and left the office. HR and my manager were aware immediately. He later called me and apologized, but he said he still didn't believe me. Now Monday is approaching, and I'm unsure if I still have a job or if I was out of line. Was I the asshole for telling my CEO to go fuck himself?
I'm going to predict that Dan and I are going to continue to disagree. Dan, please.
I'm actually not going to answer her question right off the bat. I want to hit when you work for a company, you have time away. And as part of that time away, and I think like one of the things that and this is potentially a mark of a bad company here or a bad manager, I don't have to explain why I'm taking off. If I'm taking a day off, I could be taking a day off because it's absolutely critical I be at this family event, or I could be taking a day off because I want to sit on my back porch and watch the squirrels. I could be taking a day off so I could go party with friends. It doesn't matter what I'm taking a day off to do. I get to take a day off, and I don't have to explain myself to my boss. So it doesn't matter whether this question about whether she's lying, it doesn't matter. She's taking a day off.
Right.
Let's take off. Why would she have to prove anything? What does it matter if she's lying? I have taken the day off. I get a certain number of days of annual leave. I've taken that day of annual leave.
Well, and even more problematically, this is not within the poster's normal scheduled expected work time frame. This is something that has been scheduled outside of that and is now being expected because they're being paid to attend something outside of those normal those work.
Are they being paid for that? Is she getting extra pay?
That the people attending this are sort of expected to go, sort of voluntold to go, but they are also being compensated for that time.
Okay, yeah, it's official really like quarterly party where they check in and whatever, and yeah, they are paid and compensated. So
okay, fair.
But to your point, Dan, then does that require a time away leave notice, or is that just simply don't pay me for that time, I can't come, and it doesn't count against my leave balance? I think it feels really dicey and problematic that we have something happening outside these work hours that's more or less expected, and then it sounds like she almost has to treat this as leave.
Yeah,
that doesn't feel right to me. That has a really icky kind of feel.
Yeah, I don't. I am troubled by the degree to which we think we should be micromanaging our employees. The answer to I need to take the time off, I would hope would be, okay, great. Now if someone is taking excessive time off, someone is taking time off that's harming the company, that's a conversation to have. Yeah. But especially an event that occurs outside of normal work hours, I struggle with that.
And this is not an excuse. It's just my curiosity brain is, why is this CEO so wrapped up in this particular employee attending? Is there something happening that centers on this employee? I feel like the CEO had an expectation that got blown to smithereens and is now being incredibly reactive. Inappropriately so, right? But I wonder what else is not in this post. And that is not to say that in any way that behavior as described by the CEO was okay or justified. I mean, this is just fraught with problems. And I just feel like there's something, I hope the poster has missed sharing something with us, because Otherwise, it feels so open and shut and ridiculous because it's
Yeah.
just thing after thing after thing. Now, I stand by my original. She should not tell him to go fuck himself. Yes, he pushed the I'm getting there. He pushed the buttons. He's chasing after her. He's being wildly inappropriate. Do I understand the impulse and urge? Absolutely. But when you're in a high conflict situation like this, you do not add fuel to the fire. It's not going to help. Is she an asshole? No. Should she have done it? Maybe a dumbass? No. Like she shouldn't have done
So what
it.
you're
It
just
like it worsens the situation, which while doesn't have the mens rea quality, it is not it is worsening the situation. And I do find that highly problematic. It is asshole adjacent. It is right there.
so to be clear,
Hmm.
you agree with Dan Kessler in this one that she's not an asshole, but is out of line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be clear
Well,
that in
because
this
your
particular
original
case,
sounded
I
like
won
she
the
wouldn't have been
argument.
out of line for pushing back, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we were in an understanding that her behavior was not okay.
Oh
You in
no,
a
no, 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 no.
conflict situation, you do
To
not
be
tell someone to go fuck
to be
themselves.
no, no, to be absolutely clear, she should not have told him to go fuck himself. He
Yeah.
may have deserved to go fuck yourself. His behavior was way out of line. And you don't get to throw down and go fuck yourself in the workplace. It's not appropriate in the workplace. It's a poor decision. It's a poor decision for a whole host of reasons. One of
Yeah.
which in that it threatens your job, but it's also verbally abusive and it's hostile and it adds fuel to the fire. And all around, it's a bad idea. And it was a huge mistake on her part.
Yes.
I, however, stand by that she's not an asshole for doing it. I think she's a dumbass for doing it. Well, maybe not even a dumbass in this particular case. I it's ill-advised and a poor choice on her
She
part, and
definitely
not
got
one that's
caught
going
up
to
in
help her
that
career.
moment.
She got caught up in the moment. I'm not willing to excuse it though. Like she's out of line and deserves
Mhm.
some sort of sanction. And if I were her HR person, I would absolutely there would
Yeah.
be something there that would be some sort of sanction because you can't do that. That's not
No.
okay. However, she's not asking, is this HR appropriate? Which is not. She's not asking if it was stupid. It was.
Yeah.
She's asking if she's the asshole for doing it and And I'm not the asshole.
I think I agree with you.
Yes. I'm just
I
gonna
wanted a
just
little
like,
bit more tension in the conversation between you and I to like pull, but I think you hit the nuances that I really want
yes.
to draw out of this.
And I don't know if the internet hit the nuances that we hit with
Mm,
this.
they're, sometimes they surprise us, sometimes.
Sometimes they do. Michael, how did the internet? So it sounds like we've come to a conclusion here. She
I
did
think we have.
something really dumb. She did
Mhm.
something wildly inappropriate from an HR perspective that's
Mhm.
probably going to harm her career and get her in trouble, and appropriately so, but not an asshole. Michael, what did the internet say?
Well, the internet definitely said she was not the asshole because
Yeah,
like
because you're like, stick to them.
I mean, that's like the dream scenario, right? Like telling your boss to go fuck themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
And, but it was mostly because they said, okay, you had documentation, you talked to HR, you got the approved time off. Like you have literally done all of the things that you needed to do. And point of clarification, the party was outside of her normal work hours, but not like at night. So it was, she works 410. So Friday is off for her, but it was noon to 2 o'clock or something like that was when this
Oh,
party was carved. So just, it
Wait a second.
wasn't,
If you have a company where you have a lot of people who work 410s, you shouldn't be having a gathering on Friday.
agreed.
I mean, again, we're talking about a company with high turnover. First off, manager who feels they can get away with screaming at an employee. Second off, scheduling a work event on a day that many people have off. If you're
the only thing I'll push back, Dan, is he didn't necessarily say many. This individual happens to work 410s. That may not be
okay,
company culture wide. And I hear you.
I'm making a leap of faith because if one person's working 410s, it's
Yes,
probably, in fact,
probably.
I know someone who works for a company that some people work like a 9-day schedule every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and some people work 410s, and they've
Yeah.
actually stopped allowing it because so many people weren't in the office on Friday.
Yes.
Like they just said, we're no longer allowing 410s because we can't get it. Like our office is like
Because
less than
everyone
half
Friday.
staffed on Friday, and it's really causing us problems. Now there are other I think there are other workarounds for that would work better than
You
saying
do it.
no
We
one
used
else
to
can do
alternate Mondays
410s.
and Wednesdays and Fridays,
Yeah,
and people would just have a different day off. And they loved having off Wednesday, by the way. 410s with a Wednesday off.
Yeah, I think it's delightful.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
I'm struggling with that. But yes, I take your point, Gayle. I am exceeding the parameters of OP's description. But
Facts as we know
Michael,
them. But
I
So
interrupted you. There's
no, that's
more.
okay. So one of the few dissenting kind of people, basically, who attempted to kind of not defend but explain maybe some of these behaviors, because unfortunately we didn't get a lot of information from the OP about questions. She did actually provide an update a week later, which I'll share with you in a moment. But the person who is
Spoilers.
defending or trying to explain the behavior of the boss was saying that, if you have an environment where it is a lot of turnover and you're trying to build team, like these kind of parties can be really important, in terms of whatever.
And screaming at your employee does a great job of building team.
Yep, exactly.
You beat me to it, Gayle.
Even that person said screaming at your employees does the opposite. And, many people pointed out he used the word bullshitting. You're bullshitting me. So he set the precedent for cursing in the workplace. So, her escalating that wasn't necessarily anyway. So there were lots of those kind of conversations, but for the most part, everyone agreed. She was squarely not the asshole. Probably not advisable to do that. And then
I think you need to raise the inflection there to as if it's a question. I think it is unquestionably a bad decision on her part.
Yeah. And then there always, I had conversations that I enjoy. And my favorite was recommending that they print and frame the DMV appointment email and hang it on their wall in their office.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I hear when people bring me these conversations, how do I handle this? Da, 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 da. I love going back to the framework that I learned from author Faith Harper. Now, first of all, I am going to tell you that her books always start with unfuck your something. And the unfuck your series, there's an unfuck your boundaries. And this is like 185 pages. It's not a big book. It's about the size of my palm, just a little bigger. It is so quick and dirty about boundaries. And she's got this great section. So if you haven't read it, I'm going to highly recommend, I think it's even somewhere on our favorites page, this formula that she calls BIFF. So the BIFF is, I know, I'm going there. Just a minute, Dan. He's making faces at me. Don't make faces. It's rude in the workplace. BIFF are the do's. Be firm. Be brief. Sorry. Gosh, I was stuck in my brain there for a moment. The B is brief, so brevity is important. Be informative, so focus on what is accurate. Don't get down the rabbit hole of what is inaccurate. Be firm and be friendly. And if you can't be friendly, at least neutral, right? Mm-hmm. And then the A's, avoid accusations, admonishments, and apologies. So really, not telling someone to go fuck themselves or how to do their business. And the apology that is appropriate in a high conflict conversation is a social apology, right? I'm sorry that, today has been so difficult. Like, I'm not taking ownership of the difficulty, but kind of giving yourself a little bit of that distance that I think helps strike a more friendly, neutral tone without throwing yourself under the wheels of the bus, or you avoid the apology altogether so that you don't give the person who's raging at you more reason to rage at you.
Yeah, no, I'm taking all that in because I've not read that.
It's a lot.
It is one thing I kind of respectfully disagree with about that. I agree with part of the apology piece. Like, I think we too often apologize for things that we shouldn't be apologizing for. Like, I'm sorry I need to take that day off to go to the DMV. You absolutely should not be apologizing for that.
No.
You should never be apologizing for something that, the fact that you've inconvenienced someone with your life. Like, I'm sorry I had to take the day off because my kid was sick. No, do not apologize for something that you've not done wrong or bad. However, I would say that if you made a big mistake, if you did something that, you screwed something up.
Oh,
I
of
love the
course.
idea of an apology there. Like, yes, I
But
told you I
not
would do
in
that and I didn't. And because I didn't do it, you didn't get paid on time. I
sure.
am very sorry. But we too often apologize for things that aren't our fault, that we
I
shouldn't be
agree. And
apologizing.
what she's not suggesting that you don't apologize. She's
Okay, good.
suggesting that in the context of a high conflict conversation, your CEO is now showing his ass by chasing you into your
Mhm.
office, cursing at you and raising his voice is not the time to apologize for anything that is
Correct.
of your doing. If there's
Correct.
an apology that needs to be spoken, that's probably not the time to do it. You can kind of come back. Right now, we are
100%.
focused on de-escalating this because what
Mhm.
happened with this particular poster, she got swept along in the energy of that moment, and then she showed her ass back and told him to go fuck himself. And that's the problematic high conflict piece that we needed to have handled differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that should.
yeah, no, she would absolutely say you need to apologize.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't
All
want to
right.
misquote Faith
I've
Harbor
read
in
the book, and I'm sure that
any
nuance is there.
way, shape, or form, just in that particular situation.
Understood.
Before
Yeah.
I get to the update that she provided, one other side conversation that I wanted to just get your take on is these work parties in general. Now, this one happens in the workplace and it's paid time, right, for going there. But a lot of times companies will have things on the weekend which are optional, but there appears to be a lot of the conversations talked about like the pressure to show up to these voluntold kind of events that you're talking about, different than what the poster is talking about, but just in general, like this, I don't know, what are those dynamics of like the work party and I don't know, do you have any thoughts on any of those things about the pressure to show up to those, especially if you're in a place that's struggling with connection and that kind of stuff?
I would say that if I am working for an organization that is struggling with connection and your ask of me is to show up outside my normal work hours, I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to feel terrible about it. I do, warning here, I have really good big boundaries. You're going to get me to show up to something after hours for team building and connection when the workplace is good and is healthy and has connection going for it. And then you can utilize that goodwill to get me to show up to something outside those hours. Otherwise, you're going to need to be facilitating that inside of my scheduled time. And if I don't work Friday, I'm not coming in on Friday if I have something else planned. If I'm working 4 10s and I make my DMV appointment for Friday and you happen to schedule something like that's tough shit, that's not my schedule.
Yeah.
And you can offer me time and a half, double time to come in, and I still then have the right to decline that offer as well because this is my scheduled time off.
Totally
That's my
agree.
take.
Totally agree. I have always well, so it's a little different when your company is two people who are
I
also
was thinking of
who also
other
have
times.
spouses and friends, who are also spouses and we're all friends. So that
Right, well,
I'm going to
I'm not
exclude
thinking
our
about this
business
company.
gathering.
Yes, no,
But
I was speaking
no,
more when I was part of larger organizations
no,
with
and as
someone
part of a
other than
larger
you and I.
organization, when they had a gathering on a day that I wasn't working, I simply responded, "I'm not working that day. I don't work that day." And I never apologized for not going. I'm like, "No, I don't work that day, so I won't be there." And I really pushed back often against these ideas of workplace gatherings in the evenings, or outside of regular work hours. I get why the company wants to do that and build a team and all of that, but unless I'm being paid or incentivized in some way, my job is to be friendly and cordial and positive and collegial and get
Mhm.
along really well with my coworkers. But
Yep.
I don't. But I choose at the end of the day to socialize with who I choose to socialize with, my
Yeah.
family, my friends, maybe my coworkers. And if I wanted to go to an after hours get together, I would, because
Yep.
I want to hang out with these people. I like them and they seem pretty cool. And I'd like to sit back and shoot the shit and have a drink and do that, fine. But if I'm going because no, I'm not going because the
And
company is telling me we're doing a team building happy hour at wherever and we should all get together and go. No, no,
and in that case, I think it needs to be entirely voluntary
yeah, yeah. But in
with
this particular,
no repercussions about not going.
Yeah, and this particular one on a Friday, her only reason she should need to give in order to not go is I don't want to go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here's the update. So a week later, she came back and posted this update. She still has her job.
Oh, that's nice.
That's unfortunate. She should leave. This is a terrible
CEO. But she didn't get fired.
So here's the rest.
She didn't get fired.
Yes, I know.
Her direct manager is stepping back for health reasons. And OP is actually being promoted, now reporting to the COO instead of the CEO to help buffer tension. And in addition, she'll receive a pay raise and plans to stay. And she said, I'm sharing this privately, which is like, you're sharing on the internet, bad, whatever. But, and she said she's just going to stay long enough to gain experience before moving closer to family and finding a new role. So,
yeah, you know what this is? This is a company that went, you done fucked up. And so we're going to give a package to this person that makes them happy so they don't sue us because you done fucked up so big.
Underscore, this is where we remind everyone, HR's job is not to be there for you, the employee. HR's job is to be there for the company. And they're not going in there and you know, any HR folks on the line here, feel free to disagree with me. My understanding of HR is their job is to make sure the company runs well. And if that means the employee is screwed up, they're going to go after the employee. If it means the manager screwed up, they're going to go after the manager. But frequently, you know, the employee is lower on the pay scale and might end up being in a place where the company may offer preference, and sometimes they do it the easiest versus what's necessarily right. Sorry, I don't mean to be dissing HR here.
No, I think it's difficult, especially when your CEO is involved in this.
Right. We've all seen situations where folks in the C-suite have done something out of line, and they're not held to the fire because they're in the C. And I, you know, no diss on any of those folks. Most of those folks working hard, trying to do right. And I think if there are any C-suite folks listening, I think they would sit back and go, "Wow, I do not want that CEO running my business."
Exactly.
Because if he's yelling at employees, he's going to fuck up my business, and I don't want him fucking up my business. So they would be happy to ask him to step back. I'm sure most people would. And again, let us know if you're, you know, we've got a mailbag, we've got comments.
Yeah.
Tell us we're wrong.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say, send us the love. Let us know what we got right or wrong. And if you have other questions or scenarios, send them our way as well. Thank you both for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscious of the internet forums and workplace dynamics, I guess. Remember, morality is often shades of gray and not just tell someone to fuck off or not.
You know, don't add to the fire. If you're told to fuck off, take a breath, walk away, set a healthy boundary. Don't engage.
Yeah, please follow and share Veritas views on any of the podcast platforms through neighbors and friends. And as always, stick around through the credits for whatever this bonus conversation is going to be about.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits. Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing this show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael MacBride. Intro, outro, I'm Kelly Buttrick, a VO talent who just happens to be Dr. MacBride's cousin. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you believe you may be experiencing a mental health issue, please seek the assistance of a qualified mental health professional. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the U.S. to be connected to Crisis Mental Health Services.
Okay. Thanks for listening. As promised, here's that bonus conversation.
Gayle, I'm not going to ask for the specific example because it's a little potentially too personal. But I'm going to ask you for it in general. Like two questions. First is yes or no. Second is a generic. One, have you told someone to go fuck themselves? Just a yes or no. Don't.
Not in those words.
Okay. And what would you say, are there situations, is there a justifiability? What would you describe as the situation where it might be appropriate to tell someone to go fuck themselves? Or would you say it's just never helpful or productive?
I think the words "go fuck yourself" are never helpful and productive. Full
Okay.
stop. However.
Oh, you're throwing in a however.
I'm throwing in a however.
All right. All right. Let's hear your however.
I think you can often say something without using the words. We've talked about how tone and word choice sometimes leave a more lasting impression regarding the underlying meaning than the words themselves.
Yeah.
And there are times and places, even in business, where it is appropriate to politely and firmly let someone know they have crossed the line. And have I done that? Yes. And I will even tell you, I was fairly young and scared shitless to do it. And I did it, and I felt really good about it. And I hold on to that to this day, that it took a big act of courage as the underling, and I walked away with my integrity.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes the use of phrasing that is that strong paradoxically decreases the how much the person is going to listen, attend to, and make change based on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're likely to I would agree with you. There really isn't a situation where that's a productive thing or a positive thing to say. There may be times where like, okay, I can justify it, but that we can justify something doesn't mean that it's ever a good idea. And I'm gonna agree with you.
Yeah.
That there's always a better way of saying it. And I keep asking questions of people, but like what's the business way of appropriately saying "go fuck yourself"?
So in my case, it was, these are the things in the environment that need to change. This is my letter of resignation that is yet unsigned.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I did not sign the letter of resignation.
Well, cool.
That day. I did not stay with the organization or that manager for much longer. And I knew that when I walked in the office. I knew that it was time limited. He did not. But I needed some pretty immediate environmental changes, and those for the most part occurred. I think if I was going to stay long term, it probably would have backslid. Again, I knew that I wasn't staying long. It truly was sort of a through gate. So that's how I did it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was busily looking on the internet for polite ways to tell people that are business appropriate to go fuck themselves.
Oh,
and
what are they?
One of my favorites was a quote from Shakespeare, which is, "I do desire we may be better strangers."
What's the Mark Twain way of saying "go fuck yourself"?
Oh man, I'm sure there are plenty.
Beat her over her head with her own shin bone, or what was that?
Yeah, Gayle's alluding to Twain on Jane Austen. He said, "Whenever I read one of her books, I want to go out and dig her up and beat her over the head with her own shin bone." So, I mean, that's pretty extreme.
Quite extreme.
Fairly extreme. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune in again next week for a whole nother Am I an Asshole debate.
We love hearing from you, so please review us on Apple, Spotify, or, well, wherever you're listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please review, like, and follow. Also, give it a share. This helps us reach more listeners.